The spark that set it all off goes back to May 14th, 1998. Snoop and his cousin Daz Dillinger were at the Universal Amphitheater that night, but the atmosphere was tense because, by that time, Snoop had officially broken away from Death Row Records and signed with No Limit. That move already put him in hot water with Suge Knight and his crew. According to leaked police paperwork and stories that came out later, Snoop and Daz were backstage when a group of 4 to 6 dudes tied to Death Row rolled up on them. One of these dudes allegedly punched Snoop straight in the face. Then Snoop and Daz ran straight toward the police officers nearby. Daz was even yelling, "He's got a gun," while they were running.
Trayvon stopped Snoop and Snoop took off and ran.
Snoop was by himself?
No. Snoop had Daz with him. Daz ran too.
When the cops got to them, they didn't find guns on anybody, but they did pat them down and found weed in both Snoop's and Daz's pockets, less than an ounce each. Still, they both got cited and arrested on possession charges right there on the spot.
That's when they both, and you can look that up, they both got arrested for marijuana possession in their pockets. They both had marijuana on them.
Now, Reggie Wright Jr., who used to be the head of security for Death Row, claims he's seen the actual police paperwork from that night. According to him, that paperwork shows that Snoop was extremely cooperative with the cops. Supposedly, Snoop told them he was grateful the police were even there because he felt his life was in danger after leaving Death Row. He also allegedly mentioned he was worried about Daz's safety, since Daz was still technically signed to Suge. But the paperwork doesn't stop there. The wildest part is that during the questioning, one of the cops apparently told Snoop something along the lines of, "We know who killed Tupac," and Snoop supposedly shot back, "It was the man sitting next to him." When asked if he meant Suge Knight, Snoop allegedly said yes.
He snitched. He snitched. That nigga trying to say that Suge Knight is the one that murdered Tupac.
And Suge hasn't been quiet about it either. He's gone on record multiple times, straight up calling Snoop a police informant. In a 2006 Rolling Stone interview, Suge famously said, "Snoop is a rat, he's a police informer." Those claims got new life in 2020 when 6ix9ine dragged Snoop into his own rat wars. 6ix9ine posted clips, alleged documents, and basically accused Snoop of being the same thing people were calling him a snitch. Snoop, of course, has denied the whole thing from the jump and clapped back at Suge Knight and 6ix9ine. Snoop's supporters also back Snoop, arguing that even if all that paperwork is real, it still doesn't make him a snitch in the traditional street sense. Their logic is, if you get jumped and your life is on the line and you tell the cops, that's self-defense, not snitching. They also point out that nothing Snoop allegedly said was ever used to lock anybody up. While Jimmy Henchman was never a rapper, his name sits at the center of one of hip-hop's messiest and most controversial sagas, one that exposes layers of hypocrisy. In 2022, when news broke that Henchman had been granted a new trial for the 2009 murder for hire of Lowell Lodi Mac Fletcher, a G-Unit associate, the internet lit up immediately, and 50 Cent wasted no time reacting. He jumped on Instagram, posting what appeared to be court papers, suggesting Henchman had been cooperating with the authorities for years. Here is the paperwork on OG Rat Jimmy, 50 wrote. He even took shots at DJ Vlad, who had recently interviewed Henchman after his murder sentence was overturned. An interview that mysteriously vanished from YouTube shortly after. Vlad, scared of that fool, saying 50 called you a rat. Read the paper, fool, he'd been telling since the 90s. 50 didn't stop there. In interviews, he doubled down, claiming Henchman had told so much that he basically solved a decade's worth of New York crimes in 10 minutes.
I don't like Preem. I don't like Preem enough, but he lived the way he actually projected himself. His lifestyle is consistent.
He was true to it.
He never ratted on nobody. And Jimmy's a different kind of guy. He told everybody. He solved the last 10 years of criminal activity in New York City. It's 10 minutes. The DA said, hold on, chill out, stop, boy, you're gonna make like I don't do work.
At first, it sounded like classic 50 Cent exaggeration. But then actual court records surfaced and the story shifted. They confirmed that between 1996 and 2000, Henchman allegedly had cooperated with authorities at least 3 separate times, giving up information to reduce his own penalties in unrelated cases. But the most explosive accusation tied to Henchman has always been his alleged involvement in the November 1994 ambush of Tupac Shakur at Quad Recording Studios. According to FBI documents and multiple sources, Henchman helped orchestrate the attack by baiting Tupac with a $7,000 offer for a guest appearance. The claim is that Henchman ordered 3 associates to rough Tupac up, making it look like a robbery while actually punishing him, and possibly to gain favor with Sean Combs. Tupac survived and never held back. He called Henchman out by name, accusing him directly on his Machiavelli album of setting him up. He rapped, "Promise to pay back, Jimmy Henchman, in due time. Set me up, wet me up, dudes stuck me up, heard the guns bust, but your tricks never shut me up." For years, Henchman's lawyer tried to bury these accusations, calling them character assassination. Henchman himself publicly denied any involvement, but in 2011, the story caught fire again when Dexter Isaac, one of the attackers, confessed that Henchman hired him for the job. That confession cemented Henchman's image as someone who not only maneuvered through the music industry, but, according to his critics, used that power to manipulate the streets and law enforcement for his own benefit. His reputation as a snitch is built almost entirely on the accusations Tupac Shakur made during and after the infamous 1993 SA case. To Tupac, Jack wasn't just an acquaintance. He was someone who betrayed him at the worst possible moment. Jack was the one who introduced Tupac to the woman who later accused him of assault, and Pac always believed Jack set the stage for the entire situation. The biggest reason people still debate Jack's role is the massive difference in legal outcomes. Tupac ended up convicted of first-degree SA and sentenced to prison. Jack, meanwhile, had his case separated by his lawyer, who just so happened to be connected to the New York Police Benevolent Association. Instead of facing serious penalties, Jack pled to misdemeanors and barely spent any time behind bars. Even though he was linked to related criminal activity, the contrast was impossible to ignore.
I go to jail for a crime everybody know I did not commit, get shot 5 times, and I'm getting in jail, wompty, wompty. They just say anything to assassinate my character.
Tupac's attorney, Michael Warren, publicly mentioned the strange inconsistencies, pointing out that Jack's treatment didn't match the charges at all. This strengthened Pac's belief that Jack was living a double life, moving freely between the underworld and the government. Tupac immortalized these accusations on Against All Odds, calling Jack out directly. "Listen while I take you back and lace this rap." A real live tale about a snitch named Haitian Jack knew he was working for the feds. Jack responded aggressively. He filed a massive $200 million libel lawsuit against Tupac's estate, claiming the lyrics falsely portrayed him as a snitch who shot Tupac and destroyed his career. But the lawsuit didn't erase the public suspicion. And as time passed, Jack slowly faded from the spotlight. By the mid-1990s, his presence in mainstream hip-hop circles had diminished, and he was eventually deported. In later interviews, Jack has tried to rewrite his relationship with Tupac. He now claims Pac was a fair-weather friend, someone who flipped on him when it suited him. He insists he always had Pac's back, and that Pac turned the world against him without cause.
Pac was all good when I was doing good things to him, until we caught that punk case that was easily could have been beaten by both of us. His attorneys turned him against me, and that's the part that I'll never forgive him for, because I'm gonna ride or die with you, homie.
But many fans, insiders, and experts remain doubtful. Because Tupac isn't here to defend his side, Jack's retellings feel, to some, like attempts to reshape history. T.I. has had more than a few run-ins with the law over the years, from drug charges to weapons possession and even assault. He's no stranger to legal trouble, but one particular case stands out, the one that put the snitch label on him for good. It all went down in 2007, just hours before he was set to perform at the BET Hip Hop Awards in Atlanta. T.I. was at the height of his career, and the awards show was a big moment for him. But before he could even step on stage, the FBI, along with a swarm of law enforcement officers, pulled up on him and placed him under arrest.
I heard his name too, and I didn't get a chance to find out though.
Oh, okay, because I know he's supposed to perform tonight as well.
Yeah, that's sad though.
And they weren't arresting him for some minor offense either. When they searched him, they found 12 machine guns, 2 of which even had silencers. Now, if you know anything about gun laws in the US, you know that's a huge problem. But what made it even worse was that T.I. was already a convicted felon, and felons aren't even supposed to have a single gun, let alone an entire arsenal of automatic weapons. So naturally, everyone was wondering, how in the world was he going to beat this case? Just a few weeks later, on October 26, 2007, T.I. did exactly that. He walked out of the United States District Court in Atlanta after appearing before U.S. Magistrate Judge Alan J. Baverman and posted a massive $3 million bond, $2 million in cash plus equity in his properties. That's a crazy amount of money, but it wasn't just about the bond. The conditions of his release were intense. T.I. was placed under strict house arrest. He wasn't allowed to leave his home, except for medical appointments and court hearings. The only people allowed to live with him were his girlfriend and kids, and if he wanted to have visitors, they had to be approved by the court first. His suppression hearing was set for February 19, 2008, and when the time came, he pled guilty to the charges. You'd think that would be the start of a long prison sentence, but somehow, things played out very differently. Instead of getting 10 years behind bars, which was the maximum sentence, T.I. managed to cut a deal. He ended up with 1 year and 1 day in federal prison, along with 1,500 hours of community service and a year of house arrest. He also had to pay $100,300 fine.
Though I am not thrilled about, my next year and day, I am pleased that, I can begin the process of putting this all behind me.
Now, to the average person, this might not seem that strange, but in the hip-hop world, and especially among people familiar with the legal system, this just didn't make sense. Look at Lil Wayne, for example. He got caught with a single pistol in New York, and that alone landed him a full year in prison. New York has some of the strictest gun laws in the country, but still, it was just one gun. Meanwhile, T.I. got caught with 12 fully automatic weapons, some with silencers, and walked away with a year and a day. People weren't buying it. No matter how much money you have or how good your lawyers are, getting that kind of deal is almost unheard of. And that's where the snitch rumors really started to take off. People figured that there was no way T.I. got off that easy unless he cooperated with the feds. Another major reason people still throw the snitch label at T.I. comes straight from something he said himself. In a podcast episode that resurfaced in 2020, Tip openly explained the only time he ever cooperated with the authorities. According to him, back in the early 2000s, he and his cousin Tremel, better known as Toot, got pulled over with a gun in the car. The case looked ugly, but after Toot passed away, T.I.'s lawyer suggested a loophole: put the gun charge on the cousin who was no longer alive. Tip said he agreed, claiming he had a kind of spiritual moment where he imagined Toot giving him the green light, basically telling him, "Man, take all the charges, I'm gone."
My lawyer said, well, I can make everything go away if it was Toot, if it was Tremel's. And I had a talk with Toot. Say, I take all the charges you got. If you can walk away free and put it on me, goddamn right.
That story didn't sit well with everybody. The backlash came fast, especially from Boozy Badazz, who immediately scrapped the joint album they had in the works. Boozy's argument was simple: cooperation is cooperation. Even if the person you're putting the blame on is dead, it still crosses a line in street culture.
With the T.I. situation, if he did that, you're a rat too. I don't spare no motherfucking body. But I'm gonna tell you like this: when I saw that, I think T.I. lying. I think he went up there and just got the f***ing talking.
But T.I. fought back hard. He insisted this wasn't real snitching because he didn't testify against anybody alive, didn't help investigators build a case, and didn't take anybody off the streets. He framed it as just doing what the legal system already allows, assigning responsibility to someone who can't be prosecuted. Tip repeatedly demanded that critics produce real paperwork, proving he cooperated against another person. To this day, he stands on that. T.I. also cleared up another rumor. He admitted he testified in the trial of the man who killed his assistant, Philint Johnson, but said he never pointed out the shooter or identified anyone in court. For him, that moment was about honoring Philint, not snitching. His name being dragged into that same category had the whole internet on fire for a minute. On August 25th, 2021, Cuban Link hopped on Instagram and basically claimed he had paperwork proving that Fat Joe was a government informant. According to him, he had actual government exhibits with Joe's name on them. The paperwork supposedly laid out all kinds of wild claims. It had Joe's full government name, Joseph Antonio Cartagena, right there. It said he had admitted to selling crack cocaine on Union Avenue in the Bronx, which is where his street nickname Joey Crack supposedly came from. The documents also claimed Joe gave up info on several murders, like naming names. It said he pointed out that a dude named Marqueo Stroud killed someone called Truth as a favor for a local crew. It mentioned Fat Chino and Shorty conspiring to kill another guy named Reyes, who was supposedly a gang leader. The papers even had a list of names tied to other murders connected to the original crime. Of course, Fat Joe didn't let this slide. He just dropped a slick IG post with a picture that said, "When the hate don't work, they start telling lies." Then 2 days later, on August 27th, Joe finally went live and really spoke on it. He flat out said, "Joe Crack the Don has never been a rat in his life, has never told on a person in his life I'd kill myself before I tell on somebody. Let's be clear about that.
Joe Crack the Don has never been a rat in his life, has never told on a person in his life I kill myself before I tell on somebody."
He went further, saying he didn't even know the people named in those documents, and that they definitely didn't know him. His claim was that somebody literally took a piece of paper, slapped whiteout on it, and added his name and those details. And a lot of fans believed him, because there were big red flags. For one, the formatting on the so-called government paperwork was sketchy. It didn't look like how official documents usually look. They were using street names instead of legal names, which is rare for feds. And there weren't any proper case numbers or court stamps on the pages, stuff you'd normally see on legit paperwork. And the biggest argument in Joe's defense was if this paperwork was real, there's no way 50 Cent wouldn't have used it against him years ago when they were beefing by 2022. Cuban Link himself had to backtrack. He admitted he was wrong after doing more research and retracted the accusation. Waka Flocka's uncle, and a longtime figure in New York's hip-hop and street world, found himself dragged into a major controversy in late 2025 out of nowhere. An explosive accusation dropped, and it came from someone with real weight, Kenneth Supreme McGriff. In his documentary, The Supreme Truth, Supreme went all in, claiming Bimmy had been working as a federal confidential informant for over 40 years. He even claimed Bimmy was on the government's payroll. Supreme delivered the blow with real emotion. "This is a man I thought was my brother," McGriff says, before the words turn heavier. But he's been working with them people for decades. According to him, the biggest red flag was simple. Everyone around Bimmy went to prison, except Bimmy. Supreme even suggested that Bimmy was the confidential informant mentioned in the search warrant used during his own prosecution. In his version of events, Bimmy allegedly lied to the feds about kidnappings and beatings just to justify the raid. If true, it would mean Bimmy played a behind-the-scenes role in dismantling criminal circles and influencing cases involving major figures, including the downfall of Brooklyn rapper Rod Diggs. When confronted about the issue, Bimmy's reaction didn't help. Instead of calmly denying the claims, he dodged the questions, which only fed the fire.
If Supreme McGriff put some claims out there saying that you was a CI for 40 years.
I live by them rules. I know them rules. You feel me? This new day and age, they quick to call somebody that if they don't like them or if you ain't giving them money.
Before all this, Bimmy had actually been making the rounds publicly, trying to prove he wasn't a snitch. He pointed out that he did federal time for a 1992 DEA sting and claimed he did it standing tall, without giving anyone up. But the moment Supreme spoke out, and Bimmy refused to give a straightforward explanation, the court of public opinion shifted heavily against him. The snitch allegations surrounding 50 Cent have lingered for more than 20 years, mostly because of his long, bitter war with Ja Rule and the whole Murder Inc. camp. The entire rumor started from a misunderstanding of paperwork connected to a 2000 stabbing at the Hit Factory. In that case, an order of protection was issued, and a police report referenced the presence of an informant. That single word became the spark Ja Rule, and his team grabbed onto the document and claimed it proved 50 Cent was the one feeding information to the cops.
It wasn't nothing crazy. It was nothing big. It was just a little scuffle. It was nothing big.
Yes, sir.
But he felt the need, you know, to go to the cops and press charges. Jackson, that as a result of the above described conduct, informant suffered lacerations. Informant, y'all. Informant suffered.
Things reignited all over again in April 2025 when Ja Rule reposted the supposed paperwork online, calling it the receipts that finally exposed 50 as a snitch. And once that narrative caught fire, it took on a life of its own. On top of that, some fans found it suspicious that 50 survived a wild street past, including being shot 9 times and beat a 2007 federal gun charge without doing the kind of time his peers did that only fueled the whispers. But in April 2025, hip-hop attorney Bradford Cohen shut the whole thing down. He explained that the report listed Informant, Curtis, and Marvin as separate entries, and that police paperwork never puts an informant's real name next to the word informant. He even pointed out that the commas alone proved the names weren't connected, and told the public bluntly, "Don't be a dummy." Cohen wasn't the first to debunk the rumors. Combat Jack had dismissed them years earlier, and former NYPD detective Bill Courtney had also confirmed that Curtis Jackson wasn't the informant. Despite all the noise, the official truth has been consistent. The documents never labeled 50 Cent as a snitch. His story is basically the blueprint for how the whole conversation about cooperation and credibility in rap hit a new era. 6ix9ine popped onto the scene in late 2017 with Gummo, that shot him straight into the spotlight, but that fame was gonna get tangled up in street politics and the law. In his own words, Tekashi said he linked up with the 9 Trey Bloods around the same time Gummo was filmed. His role wasn't to put in work in the streets like cutting someone's face or putting in hits. He was the money man. He admitted his job was simple: keep dropping hits so the gang could keep stacking. In return, he got protection, street credibility, and the muscle behind his videos and career.
When I first met the gang, right? There was no ill intention, no bad intention, no ill will. It just so happened it clicked. Gummo took off, right? We see the success of Gummo. We said, let's repeat it. Let's do Kuda now.
But once the feds swooped in, all that unraveled fast. Tekashi was arrested along with a handful of 9 Trey members, hit with racketeering, firearms charges, and accusations tied to multiple shootings, robberies, and even drug trafficking. He was facing 47 years minimum, potentially life. But just after just a single day in jail, he realized he wasn't built for it. He flipped, pleaded guilty, and agreed to work with the feds.
First night I got locked up, I watched Lone Survivor, and I was like, I'm definitely snitching, right? and then, no, seriously.
From the jump. On the stand, he laid out the gang's hierarchy, the crimes, the deals, and even threw out names of other rappers and affiliates: Kuda B, Chief Keef, Cardi B, Trippie Redd, Jim Jones. The list went on. He became the government's star witness. Judge Paul Engelmeyer even called his testimony brave and complete. In return, instead of spending life behind bars, he was sentenced to just 2 years, with 13 months already served. Then COVID hit, and because of his asthma, he was released early to home confinement in April 2020. That was basically the end of the street Tekashi and the beginning of the troll Tekashi, who leaned even harder into being hated, because while the government praised him, hip-hop turned on him almost entirely. He went down in history as the snitch of his generation. His return was supposed to be a major moment, but the excitement got overshadowed once the snitching allegations started circulating. The whole snitch label is tied to a 2-hour interrogation video that recently resurfaced. In the video, he supposedly pointed out that Pee Wee Roscoe was the one carrying Lil Wayne's drugs, and basically said Roscoe was out here breaking the law every single day.
What now, brother? I said them was damn near more brothers than Bird and Wayne. Oh, Roscoe and Lil Wayne?
What more this nigga used to brainwash his drugs.
And then there's the clip where it sounds like Thug is implying Roscoe was the one who shot up the bus.
In Atlanta, and I was in New Orleans. I said, what the f? That was so weird. This man shot at this nigga to us.
According to T4, another dude tied to the situation, Thug was in that room voluntarily spilling all types of information. Even when the cops were basically telling him he didn't have to say anything, he even ended up explaining the whole Birdman and Lil Wayne breakup situation.
This album is called Carter 5, and Birdman had never put it out. So he started a little organization called Free Carter 5, meaning bring it out. And then Birdman told me that, so I'm like, oh, so that's what's wrong. He ain't put the album out.
When the backlash started heating up, Thug tried to clap back on Twitter with a post that read, "They didn't play my interrogation video in court because I helped my brother #ratwear." But a lot of folks felt like he was just trying to throw smoke over the situation. They pointed out that the video wasn't played in court, not because Thug was helping his brother, but because Pee Wee Roscoe ended up taking a guilty plea at the time, which later got overturned. Also, some people saw Thug's tweet as him trying to indirectly defend Gunna, since Gunna had also been hit with snitch accusations. The logic was basically this: if Thug says he's not a rat because his interrogation video didn't make it to court, then the same should apply to Gunna, whose statements weren't used in court either. But the wildest part is Pee Wee Roscoe himself actually hopped online to defend young Thug. On IG Live, Roscoe gave his own definition of snitching, saying a rat is somebody who bargains with the government for their own freedom when they've already done something illegal. According to him, Thug just did what he was supposed to do in that room.
A snitch is someone that comply with the government, just bargaining for their freedom when they have done something illegal.
Roscoe even went further, saying he had paperwork that would prove Gunna and others like Roe were the real snitches, not Thug. But a lot of people saw it as twisted logic. Folks like Whack 100 and Munchie B flat out said Thug was snitching, point blank. Their stance was simple: talking to cops about anybody else's dirt, naming names, or hinting at crimes. That's telling.
Munchie, is that snitching from what you heard so far?
That's telling, bro.
So
he a snitch, bro.
He a snitch. Munchie stamping him a snitch.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't say nothing about the bus shit. You see, he commit crimes every day, all right. But all that, he carried my drug shit. That's telling. Off the rip, that's telling, bro.
Even Thug's own subreddit was roasting him. Fans were saying he fumbled badly, and even compared him to Gunna, ironically in Gunna's favor. They said Gunna got out, kept his head down, and focused on the music, while Thug out here running an anti-snitch campaign and acting petty online. For a lot of people, this whole thing tanked Thug's street credibility, because the logic became, if Gunna's a rat, then Thug gotta be a rat too. He found himself in the middle of a fresh wave of snitching accusations in 2025, and it all started when he publicly showed love to Rick Ross, someone 50 Cent has been at odds with for years. 50 quickly fired back by pushing a new angle, that Meech didn't snitch directly, but instead used a loophole: third-party cooperation. This theory revolves around Tammy Cowens, a longtime friend and business partner of Meech, who was confirmed to be a DEA confidential informant around 2009. According to the 50s version of events, Meech allegedly used Cowens as a go-between to connect to Dion Cuffy Gatling and Fidel Suarez with federal agents. The claim wasn't that Meech testified, but that he quietly orchestrated things behind the scenes and let Cowens do the talking. This supposedly allowed him to shave his sentence down from 30 years to 20 without directly breaking the street code. The paperwork surrounding the Cuffy Suarez deal is massive, and Meech's name reportedly shows up 39 times, which helped 50 push the narrative even harder. He even teased a documentary centered on Cowens, promising she had receipts that would expose Meech's hidden cooperation. Meech didn't let the accusations slide. He jumped on social media and posted a strong response. "I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me."
I wasn't going to address this because I'm not trying to let nobody trick me off the streets. But I never folded, never told, never will. Death before dishonor, always with me.
Interestingly, Blue Da Vinci, another figure connected to BMF, once said Meech had suspected Cowens was an informant as far back as 2009. And when prosecutors questioned Cowens, referred to in some files as CS1, she reportedly denied that Meech ever told her to facilitate anything between Cuffy and Suarez. If anything, it looked like she tried to shield him. As for Meech's reduced sentence, the official explanation is simple: changes in federal sentencing guidelines, not cooperation.